Welcome back, Junior Chess Masters. Today, I'm going to be doing something a bit different. I had a look at the top games from our Sunday tournament, and a lot of them had some mistakes at the beginning, so I thought today I'll go over quickly 3 games, and particularly on the openings and the mistakes that were made. Just an announcement though, as you know, there's sort of a plan with lockdown now, and it looks like there probably won't be most grade levels back at school next term, which probably means, unfortunately, that there's not much chance that there'll be chess at schools next term. So I hope you can all keep making the best out of the online club we've got and doing some study by yourself on YouTube and watching my videos. As I mentioned in the forum, I'm going to make the next 2 variations a 960 and a bug house because people requested that. So if you've got any preference what you want for the variations, send me a message or put it in the forum and I'll make it the one you want. Also, if you have an interesting game that you want me to look at that you think was really interesting, let me know as well. So from the Sunday tournament, we had Arya coming first place, which is really cool to see someone else getting first place, even though he's got a lower score than some of the other players. Good work, Arya. And we're going to look at these top 3 games here that were played on Sunday. So the first one, we had Daniel and Arya. Really good game by Daniel. Good to see him playing the top player for the day. Let's have a look at their opening. So I've put it in analysis mode. Just remember, it tells us where the mistakes were. If there's a book symbol, it means it's a common book opening. And on the left, we've got the bar here showing us who's winning, so we can see when we made any big mistakes. So these are all book openings, and the name of this book opening is 4 Knights opening. And we can see here that it's pretty even on the bar. And white now sets up a common early attack or trap. And if we're in the classroom, I'd ask you, who can tell me the answer? Hands up. What's this trap potentially going to be called that white is setting up? If you see this position in future as black, you hopefully will know that there's a sneaky attack coming. So here, black doesn't really prepare for the trap. And as you can see, the computer calculates now that white is a bit better off. And white comes into the attack now known as fried liver, which comes from Italian, and it was a saying in Italian that basically means you're in big trouble. And Daniel's defense is to put the bishop here, which sort of stops the typical fried liver attack, but what should you do now if you're white? There is a good attack option. White just takes, black takes back. And now white gets a free pawn and attacks the queen. Queen has to move, and Arya moves in. Now, look at the bar. We've got 0.8 for white, and on the next move black does, white's winning a lot more, which means white should have done something else. What should white have done? Well, is there any free pieces? I can see the queen here. I can see a swap and then a free piece. Actually, you can't because the pawn will have taken. So the interesting question is, oh, look, that's a bit tricky. So you can click on the next move and it tells you what black should have done. That's the green arrow. And the first thing you might have thought, like me, is, but we could have taken over here. Why would this be a bad move? What could Arya have done then? Look at that, 0.7, then, +7, there must be a good move. White could come here, get a fork, and win the queen. So maybe Daniel saw that. I hope he did. But he moved the queen over instead. And these knights are pretty dangerous. That's why the computer thinks the best move would be to swap off here, because what can white do now? We've got 2 attackers on this pawn, and Arya gets a nice fork, but it would have been better to do it with this horse because this horse is now not protected. We have a check. White's winning by a little bit. Gets a free knight, and it looks good, but actually both these knights are in trouble now. So good work. Daniel takes the knight. White gets a nice castled position. This other knight cannot escape. So, and actually an even better move than getting this knight, because this knight can't escape, so there's no rush to get it. The computer would have liked us to come over here and take this pawn and then get the castle. So it's still pretty even. The bar's about in the middle, the computer calculates. And now we can't win that castle. What should white do? We can defend like this, or we could have moved the castle up. So I have a few more moves. This is a bit of a sacrifice. Looks a bit crazy to me. Giving up a bishop for a pawn, and the computer agrees. Now Daniel has got a big advantage. And what would you do here if you're white? You could swap off, but then you do lose an extra castle. You do win an extra castle, but it's pretty even for points now. So, oops. I'll just go back to there. So, the principle we want to remember is if you're up on pieces, you usually want to swap. So, Daniel's up on pieces. He wants to swap. He's remembering that. He's offering the swaps, except here he would lose an extra piece. I think Arya remembered that idea that he doesn't want to swap, because now, look, Daniel's trying to force the swap. Good idea. And Arya avoids and avoids and avoids the swaps. Now we have a check. Very nice. This is what happens when your king is in the middle at the end. The white king is much safer. And a bit of a crazy mistake happens here coming up. Unfortunately, Daniel gave away the queen. We should be careful and not do moves like that, especially when we haven't used up all our time. And I can't see the time while I'm in analysis mode, but most of you, as you know, are not using all your time. So think slowly and carefully if you're making mistakes like that. So the queen's down. Black still has a little bit more pieces, but the white queen is really powerful at the end for forking. So I'll do some quick moves. The white king almost got trapped. Here we are, check. Almost checkmate, but not quite. And white ends up winning a couple more pieces now. And as we can see by the calculation now... Ooh, and it could have been a turnaround at the end. It looks like white should be winning, but this gives you a clue. Look, the computer calculates black should have gone over here. And black would have actually maybe won the game then. There are these white pawns. So really close game. That was really good. Make sure you don't make those silly mistakes, please. Remember that opening trap called the fried liver. Next game we had was really good well done by Cleo Sped and Cheyenne Ray, because they're equal score, so that usually makes it particularly exciting. Now, when you get in this position at the beginning, what would you do now if you're white? Usually, and I'm going to go into analysis mode so we can see if the computer agrees with me. Usually white wants to take, and let's see if that happened. Look at the bar now. Good advantage for white because we can chase this queen away. So the computer calculates white would be in a better position here. So what did happen in the game was white brought the knight out now to defend and attack. We have a swap. White's in the middle. Should we move the queen early? Look at the score now. 0.1 advantage for white. And now it's gone up for white. White's got a bigger advantage because black's not developing. We do not want to move our queen early. So white's developing more quickly. What do we think of this move? We don't want to be blocking this pawn early on. Much better would be the bishop here or the bishop here, maybe. I don't like the bishop here. And let's see what happens because of that. We also don't want to be moving any piece twice at the beginning. So good idea, black's attacking this bishop, because if this bishop gets taken, what does white have to take back with? The pawn here, and the pawns would double up. Good idea to attack the black queen early, because they shouldn't bring their queen out early, but we also don't want to move our pieces twice at the beginning, so we could just attack more slowly. Maybe I'd develop here, and then bring my bishop over here, or a castle out here. We don't want to move a piece twice at the beginning, so the queen gets chased around. Queen's under attack. We run around. You probably won't win the queen early, but black isn't developing very fast. This is a good move by black, and let's just see what the computer thinks. It's about even here. Black takes, and computer thinks it's about still even. So white's developed faster, but white has the doubled up pawns. This is a big disadvantage, and we'll see why. It's hard to defend these pawns. Black got the free pawn now, and this pawn's now vulnerable. So I'm going to fast forward, and we'll see what happened in this game. Black still hasn't developed. Gets the bishop out finally, and we have a swap here. if you're white, what would you take with? Well, you could take back here or here, take the bishop, but instead, white decides on the swap, and the computer calculates now that black is in front. Black did get an extra piece here. So much better than taking the queen and swapping. I would have taken back. White comes on the attack. White is much more developed. And now the black pawns are weak. See, they're pawn islands on their own, and they can now be taken easily. I'll fast forward a few moves. Black's king has not castled. Worries me when people still learnt castle. We don't want to be greedy and attack too early. We want to slowly develop with all your pieces. And now white's undoubled these pawns. These pawns are now strong again together. So that's a really good move for white. So we're even on pieces so far, but what's white's big advantage? Maybe pause the video and have a think about it. White has the 2 pawns here which can run straight to the end. White blundered a piece here. Black's now got more pieces, and the computer calculates that black's winning now. I'll fast forward quickly. And white didn't really push these pawns. We should have really pushed these pawns up. And it gets pretty close because they're both attacking each other at the end. They both made a few mistakes. And we get to this point where they're both about to get each other, but who's going to checkmate first? It's black's turn. Maybe you want to calculate the position, see who's winning. If you look here, there's the symbol minus M2, which means black is going to get checkmate in 2 moves. Let's see, check, and unfortunately mate. So white was just about to get checkmate as well here. The important thing is you have to calculate who is going to be able to attack effectively first. We don't want to rush our attacks and be greedy. So at the beginning, do not develop your queen early. Bring your pieces out and move them 1 move per piece. Good game. And for our third game, we had J4 and Kobe. I think J4 was on the bottom. We have this position again, which is the 4 knights game. And I don't know if they studied my favorite trap at the beginning, which you might want to have a study. It's called the Halloween Gambit. You can look on YouTube. I like to take here, which is what J4 did. Black takes back, and then you get to chase your opponent away. This is hopefully what happens. And you get to a position that will look something like this. You get to chase them back, and then chase them back. And then you've given up a piece, but black has got a lot of development in the middle. And look, it's still pretty even. If we look at the score now, black's got a little advantage, but we should get a piece back as we keep going. So white gets a lot of control in the middle. Black got the extra piece. That's called a Halloween Gambit. It's pretty tricky. You have to memorize it carefully if you want to do it. But it happens from the 4 knights game here. So black took, and I thought maybe J4 wanted to do this, and black does a crazy move here. And have a look at the bar. Here, black was winning, and now white's winning, because what should black have done? Move the horse away. So we have some swaps. Get some pieces out, looks good. Important thing to notice, black can't castle now, so this is a good spot for the bishop. And this is a big mistake. That's why I didn't want to do a full analysis on this game. It's otherwise a good game, but unfortunately giving away a queen doesn't make it the most interesting game to analyze fully. So slow down. If you're making these mistakes, again, take a deep breath, use your time slowly. And black tried to battle on, but with the extra queen, as we can see, white had a big advantage, and the king didn't get to castle, so the king was very vulnerable, and checkmate came pretty soon. Good game, J4 and Kobe. So you can study the Halloween Gambit if you're interested. Use your time more slowly and carefully. Good players like these ones shouldn't be making those big mistakes at the beginning. Good game. Thanks, J4 and Kobe.